Okay, I might have made a tactical error. I tried to record this last week and hated everything I said, so I deleted it. And then I thought I would do a reading vlog for the weekend. Y'all, that shit is hard, so I'm not ready. I'm still working on walking, let alone running. And now I have finished too many books because too much time went by. So yeah, it's gonna be a problem. Well, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Let's see. What do I want to start with? Oh man, I don't even know. All right, we'll just start with what I read. And this will probably be quicker because there are quite a few books and I get overwhelmed at the prospect of talking about all of them. But real quick, I finished Lost in the Moment and Found, which I talked about pretty extensively in my last video, so I'm not going to talk about it very much in this one, I don't think. Everything I said in the last video held true through the end of the book. I did really love this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. Not my favorite in the series, but very, very good. Then I think I'm gonna go pretty quickly through some of these because some of them were just kind of okay. And I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about an okay book. So my okay books were A Deadly Education, which I listened to on audio and was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. But it is YA fantasy, which is kind of a hard genre for me right now. It's also dark academia, which is also a hard genre for me, though I have found that I vastly prefer dark academia with magic versus no magic. No magic is not for me. But this was fun and I really did like the main character. And then the other book that was only okay that I finished last night was A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This is for Stephanie Bookish's Patreon's book club. I feel like I said that weird. I'm still struggling to articulate what didn't work. Part of this book really worked for me and the parts of this book really didn't work for me. What didn't work for me was the fairy tale style of storytelling. I have found when I read books with that cadence to the storytelling that there tends to be a level of remove that keeps me from getting invested with the main characters. And if I can't get invested, then I struggle to care about the events of the book, no matter how high the stakes are. And I felt like that with this. So I didn't really care about the two main characters. There were two secondary characters that I was heavily invested in and I thought were really interesting, and I really wanted to know what was going to happen with them. But as far as the main two, I didn't really care. I also found the ending pretty predictable, and I'm someone who doesn't typically predict the end of the book. I'm usually just like along for the ride and happy to be there, but I knew how it was going to end about halfway through the book. So I think I have the unpopular opinion. Most of the people in the Discord chat for this have really loved it. It's a pretty small number of us that were less than wowed with this. So I will not be continuing with the series for this one. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it. I don't remember. I might continue with Deadly Education. I really liked it, the audiobook. I don't think I'm going to make it a priority to continue on, but if like the audio happens to pop up at the library, I would definitely continue. The two books that I really liked. The first one is Inferior, How Science Got Women Wrong and the New Research That's Rewriting the Story. I got this book from Angela at Literature Science Alliance. She had this in one of her Friday reads videos, and I thought this was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like it's really easily consumable. I was reaching for this instead of my fiction books, which doesn't happen very often. And it's nice and short, and it was validating, more importantly. So that was a good time for that one. I wanted to listen to it on audio, but my library didn't have it, Hoopla didn't have it, and by the time it became available for me to listen to on Scribd, I was already done. So, but I would have liked it on audio. So that's also my preferred way to consume nonfiction. And then I also finished A Restless Truth, which is the follow-up to A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk. I'm really glad I reread Marvelous Light because the mystery in that did feed into this book. The overarching plot is the same. And generally, I really did like this one. The issues I had with it is that it's on a boat the whole time. And I feel like that's really hard to have your book set in the same spot. And it's hard to keep it from feeling static. And so even though like we're solving a murder mystery and there's stolen objects to be found, and then there's the bad guys from the first book to contend with, sometimes it felt like the forward momentum stalled a little bit, just because we're stuck on a ship the whole time. But I did really love the characters. I think Freya Marsk writes wonderful characters. I loved the theme about learning to trust, but that dichotomy of like wanting the other person to give you more of themselves, but not pushing so hard that they pull away. That makes sense. I thought that was really lovely, the way she built the trust between the 2 main characters. And I love Hawthorne so much. I love a cranky, borderline asshole character. Doesn't matter if it's a man, doesn't matter if it's a woman. Like, I don't care. I just love cranky, borderline asshole characters. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but yeah, something about it works for me every time. So I loved having more of Hawthorne in this book. And I really hope maybe 3rd book is about him. I haven't done any research to see who the 3rd book is about, but it either needs to be Hawthorne or it needs to be Adelaide. I would be happy either way. Either way would make me super happy. All right, and so I think now we're to what I'm currently reading. Did I get everything? I did. Okay, so now we're on to the fun part. What I'm currently reading. Last week, Mysteries of Thorn Manor came out by Margaret Rogerson. This is a little novella that's a sequel to A Sorcery of Thorns. And no, I am not reading this, but this coming out did prompt me to start a reread of this. And I'm mostly listening to it on audio, which is really the only way I've ever read this book. But this is one of my favorite YA fantasies. I just started it this morning, so I'm not very far in. But it's really nice being back with Elizabeth, and I love the scene where she meets Nathaniel for the first time. She's like hiding behind a bookcase in a room she's not supposed to be in, and he's basically put in the room to wait to meet with, I think it's the magister of the library that she's an apprentice at. Maybe I should back up. In this world, there are magical books that are dangerous. And so these magical books have to be kept in special libraries. And so they need special librarians because the books have power and can influence humans' actions and thoughts. And if these books grow too powerful, then they can turn into basically a monster. And then they're able to like move out of the library. So it's a super dangerous job. It's the only job Elizabeth has ever wanted, and she's an apprentice at this library. and she's lived there her whole life. She was left like on the front step as a baby and been raised by I forget what the job is called, and I just read it this morning. This is not a good sign. So she's an apprentice, and then she and her like roommate and best friend find out that this magister is coming to visit the director of the library, and they have heard a rumor that like the magister has like horns and like cloven feet and stuff like that. And so sorry, the cat is still being distracting. And so Elizabeth and her friend sneak into the room that the magister is going to be put in while he waits to meet with the director. And then they're like hiding behind the bookcase, and then Elizabeth accidentally knocks over the bookcase while he's in there, and so she's busted, and that's how she and Nathaniel meet. And I'd forgotten how much I love both of them, but also them together. I'm so excited to reread this because I like have such a visceral memory of reading this book for the first time when it came out in 2019 or 2018. Kat, if you knock over my tripod, we're gonna have a fight. So please don't. 2019, yeah, came out in the summer, early summer of 2019. Anyways, so love it. So excited to be back in this world. And then that means I can read Mystery of Thorn Manor right after. And then I also started The Terraformers. If the camera moves, it's the cat's fault, not mine. I started The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. And I realized in my last video, I misgendered Annalee Newitz. So I am so sorry for that error on my part. I will do a better job of researching in the future. But I will admit, I was intimidated to start this book. It's an ARC. It comes out January 31st. And I was a little intimidated because if you've listened to Our Opinions Are Correct, then you know that Annalee Newitz is really freaking smart. And I was a little worried that their writing would be too smart for me. So far, that is not the case. I mean, it is really smart. There's been some stuff that has like gone way over my head science-wise. But this takes place way, 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 way in the future. And there are all these planets that people have terraformed to make like Earth so that sapiens can live on them. And our main character, Destry, lives on this planet called Sask-E, and it's still being terraformed. So the only people living on this planet are like the scientists and the environmental experts and the people who are needed to make it, to take care of the planet. And the planets are pretty delicate while they're being terraformed. They can be thrown off kilter pretty easily, so it's really important to keep basically non-essential humans off the planet. And then there's this inciting incident that puts Destry's job in jeopardy. And in order to kind of like dodge her boss for as long as possible, she and a couple other coworkers go to investigate this seismic episode that was recorded at the volcano. And they get there and realize that there's this entire civilization of people living under the volcano, and they've been there for centuries. And none of this is a spoiler, it's all on the back. But Destry is pretty funny, and it's a really creative world. I don't usually see this much creative world building in sci-fi, so that's kind of exciting. Also, Destry rides a flying moose, like that's her animal companion, and he can't speak with her, but like he can text message her, and then the like Wi-Fi in her brain like picks up the text messages, and so then she can like they just like appear in her head and then she can answer him verbally. I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining it. It's bananas, but it's so cool. So I am really interested to see where this goes, and what's gonna happen, because I'm sure the shit is gonna hit the fan in a real big way. I did DNF The Way of Kings. It's just not the right book for me. And it's my second attempt reading it, so I'm just gonna say I don't need to read Stormlight Archives. That does not need to be a series for me. That's okay. There are other people who love it. Honestly, Brandon Sanderson does not need my help with sales, so I'm not gonna feel bad. I talked about buying Mysteries of Thorn Manor. Oh, the only other book I brought home last week is I got my November Illumicrate box that had the Luminaries in it by Susan Dennard. I'm not sure about this book. I actually meant to cancel this box and then I forgot, and I haven't seen great reviews for this, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it or if I'm gonna try to sell it. If anyone knows anything, yay or nay about it, let me know. So I'll want to decide within the next month or so if I'm keeping it or if I'm unhauling it. But yeah, that is this week's very late weekly wrap-up. Hopefully, no, I know this week's weekly wrap-up will be much shorter because I won't have waited a week and a half to film it. So love that for me. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the week. And if you want to leave a comment down below, did we read any of the same things? Did you read anything that you really loved this week? Did you read anything that did not work for you last week? And if you do not feel like saying anything, but you want to leave a comment, what's a good emoji? Let's do a brain emoji. That sounds like a good time. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, friends, and I will chat with you later. Bye.